Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you a super simple trick for getting distorted, aggressive bass without ruining your low end. Quick disclaimer before we start, this is not a mixing tutorial and it's definitely not the one correct way to do things. Music production is about experimenting and doing what sounds cool to you. I'm just giving an impulse, feel free to tweak it however you want because that's usually when things get cool and less expectable. Alright, let's hop in. So the problem with distorting bass is that distortion creates a whole bunch of extra harmonics. And that is really great for making a sound stand out, but the low end doesn't really like the harmonics. It needs to stay clean and controlled. So instead of distorting the entire signal, the trick is to split the bass into two parts. The clean low frequencies and the high frequencies that you can destroy as much as you want. This is also a very common way to distort bass guitars in metal music, and it can be done like that in other genres too. Let me show you how to do it. This works in any DAW, I'm doing it in Ableton Live. So method 1 is to duplicate the track. You take your bass, you duplicate it, name one low and the other high, or you can also create an audio effect track where you just basically do the same thing, but it's a bit more elegant, I think. The next thing that we are going to do is to filter each layer separately. On the low layer, we add a low pass filter and we can cut somewhere between, let's say, 200 Hz. The range depends on the sound, I mean you can experiment however you like. On the high layer, we do the exact opposite thing. We add a high pass filter, typically at the same cutoff where we also had our low pass filter, but as I said, do whatever you want. This gives us clean low end and a separate high end and ready for distortion. Now we can start with the cool stuff since we are done with the setup. On the high track you can add any distortion you want, overdrive, saturation, tube, bit crush, whatever fits your style. Since we removed the lows from this layer, you can push the distortion way harder without muddying the mix. And now we can just blend them together. If you chose to do it with the duplicating option on the separate tracks, you can just do it with the regular volume faders. And if you did it with the audio effect track, you can just adjust the volume of each shade. You can start with the low layer for the foundation and then bring in the high distorted layer as you like it until you hear the grit and presence that you want. And now you get a clean and punchy low end, but also aggressive textured high end. And that is pretty cool for drum and bass, and it can also be used for other genres. You can now take this concept even further and compress the shit out of the low track or something, or do whatever you want. I mean, the options are endless. You can also put a clipper on the high layer, all sorts of cool things. So that was it already. I mean, this is just a pretty quick tip, but I think it's pretty useful in a lot of scenarios. And remember, there are no strict rules in music production. Use this technique, modify it, or ignore it completely, whatever inspires you. If this was helpful, you can consider liking and subscribing, and yeah, that's it.